Today's topic, being in a long-term relationship and every now and then, once in a great while, being attracted to other people. So let's sit back and relax and talk of that. Okay, well, my experience with that, well, I on and off in my life, and it's normal to, when it comes to being in a relationship is almost 10 years now that I've been with my partner, and I'm super happy with him. And, you know, pretty much the whole scenario is just everything pretty much comes with it, and not just being happy, but, pretty much whatever Matt and I, we don't have, we really have nothing to keep from each other, really. And I pretty much would tell him what's on my mind and tell him things. And there came a time, about a few years ago, almost, I crossed paths with somebody that was doing a instinctive acting training as I was. We were training under the same person. And they were from a different region, along with some others. And I always set up these Zoom meets to practice this particular exercise together, right? And then this person, came along, and during the pandemic, right? And we started pretty much out of nowhere conversing with each other and just getting to know each other, and, pretty much, some of the same interest that we shared, especially with acting and also with autism. Apparently this person said that they, have autism themselves, high functioning, like me and Matthew. And thinking back, I don't know, who knows? This person could have just been saying that, right? But in my case, even if someone doesn't appear to be autistic or so, if they say that they are, then I believe that they are, because who knows how long it took them to get a diagnosis, or if they ever were. Well, anyway, the reason I bring this particular person up, because apparently I just out of nowhere, and my partner was elsewhere, he was sick with COVID and had to quarantine elsewhere. And it took about 2.5 to 3 weeks, and then he finally came home, and then, I was happy to see him, Matt, that is. But even after that, I was still conversing with this person on the instinctive acting training, and really started to like them. I did. And I don't know, they were obviously married and had a kid. And, the way I was going at it at first was that, just getting to know this person. And, I met others who were, students under the same acting training, that had a kid and a family as well. And, I didn't converse with them as much. This person, I don't know, came to almost led me to believe that, for some reason I felt we've met for a reason. Maybe we'll be in a movie, in a series together, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, I think we have permission to think that, and who knows, right? That could happen. Somehow, though, I think in a way, even if it seemed a bit, I don't know, off course, um, it just seemed like, I don't know, I was getting the feeling this person was starting to like me, you know, and and usually I'm not easily talked into things, right? Um, apparently, well, what I'm trying to get at, I'm actually, there's more to the story about this other person that I had a slight attraction towards, and I mean, now I no longer talk to them due to certain things that they pulled and kind of, I don't know, sort of catfished me or tried to. And I'll get into that some other time. Anyways, when it comes down to relationships, and you're in a very great relationship, and there's nothing to change, maybe even, things. I mean, things naturally change on its own, right? Um, but say there are things that maybe don't need to be changed whatsoever, and you're happy with where you are at, right? And even on things that you could be uncertain about, right? When it comes to relationships or marriages, right, and you're truly committed, and down the line, I mean, eventually you're going to meet other people and within the community that you're in, right? So, yeah, I'd say I've had that experience where, I truly love Matthew, but I've also been attracted to, particular individuals, not a whole lot, because I've always been kind of the picky kind. I've always been reserved and selective. Um, and the reason I bring this up is that because for anybody out there who has been through the same thing and are in a relationship that they really love and truly are still committed to, if if you happen to find somebody else or find some other people attractive, that's normal. I just wanted to come on and say that that is truly normal. And have I ever fantasized about this particular, that particular individual who I seem to be attracted to besides Matthew? Have I fantasized or pictured myself dating them even? Sure, yeah. I'd say, if you have those feelings and you have those, and say this person, whether this person, feels the same way, whether they feel the same way or not, and you start to wonder and feel curious, thinking, that's when see what kind of particular person your partner is, the partner you've had the long-term relationship with so far. I say if they're not the jealous type, I would say, have talks with them. Just say how you're feeling. Just like, well, I truly love you, and I think where our relationship's at now, maybe I think this is fine, and this is fine, and I don't know, maybe sometimes when things like this happen, I may be attracted to this other person, right? And I don't get attracted to just anybody besides you, besides my partner. And if I start to have other, things going on in me that, like, I wonder what it'd be like to, maybe, I don't know, to kiss this person, like, why is it going that far? Why is it going that far? That's when maybe because this the thing I was talking about that a few years ago that happened with this past individual, I was feeling so down and so confused and so sad, and Matt just said, well, whatever it is, you can tell me. And I just hugging him, and he was hugging me, and I asked him, is it possible to love two people at once? and he knew what I meant. He was saying, he knew, the person I was doing the acting thing with, he said, are you saying that you're starting to fall in love with, what's his name? And I said, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And so I had a seat on his seat, that's a recliner like seat. It's so comfy, and it helped relax me. And he said, well, listen, I think what you need to do, or what I think you should do, is that tell him what he's doing is wrong, that you don't want to be his acting buddy anymore, and that I just think this person's completely leading you on, and I just don't think that's right. And whatever you feel confused about, and apparently this person was leading me on somehow, like, or so, and but finally that's fucking over. Finally that part is over, and again, I will get into a separate blog about that some other time, because apparently this person was trying to talk me into other things that actually weren't really right to do, like more like scamming people, and I believe this particular individual, that's who they were. They were a scammer. So I'm brain fart. Anyways, I'm gonna stop recording at the moment so I can just sit back and think about what else I want to say. So yeah, a few years later, okay, finally that part is over about I'm no longer attracted to that person who was trying to scam me a few years back. So now, but I'd say I feel, as well as your relationship is going, and if you happen along the line start to be attracted to other people, that's fine. That's normal. If somehow you start to feel, I don't know, you're feeling more than that, you starting to maybe not just like this person, they call it a crush, right? Who hasn't had that? I mean, or who most others in the world have had that. Yeah, me. But if it's a crush, that's okay. If you start to really develop feelings and you barely know the person even, but you're interested to know who, to get to know them more. If you're in a group setting, you're hanging out, you're on a walk, you're on a hike, or you're somewhere, you're at a bowling alley, you plan an event together, where it's a group of people, where they're likely to meet other people as well, and you and your significant other are joining in as well, and just having fun, basically. If it gets around to where if I start to get confused again, and I start to develop feelings for another person, then that's when I would have a talk with Matthew, just say, I think I'm starting to feel something for this particular person, and I don't know if it means, like, the next event that we hang out at, or should I hang out with them as much, or should I just, just step back and just, just be thankful and grateful for what I, already have. I mean, I could still be friends with them, maybe, depending. And who knows, they may meet someone of their own one day. I hope that for them, if that's what they want. I really, truly hope that happens for them. However, sometimes maybe what it means when you get attracted to somebody else, maybe that would be the moment to talk with your partner about, maybe is there something missing in our relationship, or something that we're not doing so much of, or something that I'm not getting, or that they're not, how would you say? The question is, have I been more of a giver or a taker or so? I'd say, if anything, I've been more of a giver most of my life. And you give something and the person receives it, and then I say you have as much right and as much entitlement to receive something as well. And so I'd say, yeah, every now and then, being in an autistic relationship with someone who is autistic as you are, um, I would say there's things I initiate, I can be, more forward with. And then there's times he could be forward with. What attracted Matt and I to begin with, what attracted us to each other, is that we weren't in a hurry to really, we didn't really think of anything as, we didn't, not so much like as a date, let alone hanging out, but he pretty much to agree and think the same way as I did with about relationships and dating. And that's when it starts to come together, and then that's when we started to really feel more serious about each other. And so yeah, that's when things started to feel right, where we were not desperate to be in a relationship. And then once we got to know each other more and more and more and more, then it became a relationship. So I think when you focus on other things in your life, like whatever it is, career, school, job, or community, and then the things you least expect, that's when they start to happen, and that's when they start to flow into your life somehow. And I think the things that I at least expect is to be, one of the things is to have other attractions and have people attracted to me, which I always I am flattered, I always enjoy, right? And also just if someone were to come to me and say how they were attracted to me or felt something for me, and say I felt the same way, and yet I already had somebody, I would say, I appreciate being honest with me about it. I would like to be honest with you about it too. And I I I like that we both feel that we somehow, there's this, I mean, I like you, I like you, and hopefully we could still be friends, since I'm already with somebody. And there's also the talk about, there's monogamous relationships that Matthew and I have and seem to prefer it that way. There's also I've known friends who have been and who are in polyamorous relationships, which is open relationships. I'd say if it ever got around to that, that's when extreme essential talk would really need to take place. I feel, I know enough to just really feel, if I were to give myself advice saying, how would I feel if the thing to consider and bear in mind with is that how your partner how my partner would actually feel about that. How would I feel if my partner had attraction towards somebody else, not somebody else, like not liking me anymore. It's not that. They love you, however, and yet they're attracted to other people. I feel out of necessity, because I think I'm capable of that I wouldn't mind my partner doing so as well. But again, this talk, I don't know how far I'm really going to talk, as in like, oh, see other people kind of thing. I've spoken with a therapist before. I talked to this therapist, a few years back when I was having this thing with this person online, right? And not having a thing, but just like talking with them and not having a hard time figuring out, where is this actually going? Where is he going with this? He obviously is asking something from me, and it wasn't friendship, obviously, and it's not because he liked me. But at the time when that's what I thought, that's where it was at, the therapist said, yeah, it is normal to be attracted to other people while in a relationship. Um, and, it's just that it's okay to feel and say these things. But if you feel action is about to occur, that's when I'd say you need that a talk with your partner ought to take place. I'm keep saying it that way, but pretty much that's what my therapist says, that maybe there's things you might need to talk to Matthew about, that that's not breaking the relationship. Your relationship's obviously still strong and going. However, there's this other person who seems to be distracting you. That not in a good or bad way. Just I was distracted by another person. And even Matthew spoke to this person, and he saw that, he saw the fun that this person and I were trying to have, like with the, practices and so on. And there's times he left us alone to do so, but then I would log off and I'd be like, my heart would, I don't know, I would have tickles in my stomach for whatever reason. But then I would turn to Matthew, and it's just like, I love Matthew so much. I almost feel guilty. If you feel that, and if your partner's open and understanding enough to listen to you about this attraction you have over another person besides him, then I'd say you got yourself a good one there. I know I do. So I'd say, so now, autism and relationships and attractions towards other is what I'm probably going to title this. It's normal. It is. I just say, always be open to talk with your partner that you're in a relationship with. And just, yeah, just live life, no regrets on certain things. Just, I'd say, our instincts is usually what tells us what we need to make the move on, right? And not just relationships, not just dating, it could be movement, make this move on an opportunity, on a part that you get in a movie or a play, all other opportunities, and not just with another person. But yeah, if usually the saying "go with your gut" is true. I feel my gut has always been right. I always do the right thing. But also to just speak with your loved ones as well. Just let them know what you're up to, and speak with your life partner as well about things. Because I feel if they really love you, they want to know everything and hear everything from you, and vice versa. So, and if things get complicated, that's okay too. It isn't just autism relationships that are complicated, that maybe they're 10 times more complicated than, neurotypicals, right? Not to say what's more complicated. Trying to be in a neurotypical relationship while you're autistic could be, yeah, that's, boy, ugh. I have done that. But then I met Matthew. So yeah, I'd say always talk, even if it's hard to. Maybe write it down. Or you can show it in some ways, but either way, I'd say, as long as as long as we're talking, nobody can get hurt. And just, if your instinct says to do something, your instinct, it shouldn't have to be something you should check twice on, but I always check twice, maybe a third time around. There's, no matter how many, I don't know, no matter how much thinking and observing that you do, if you feel something's right, then go for it. and always be open to discussion. You don't have to have the right words for it. You know, if they know what you mean, that's all that matters. I guess one last message, just look out for each other, live life, live the way you want, live long and prosper. Sure, I think of it that way, I do, but like, yeah, just as long as you're happy and just life keeps living, keeps going, and whatever goes on along the way, you know, if you have someone there to help you get through things, and or just to be happy with you, and even during sad moments, all types of like emotions, whatever we are able to, whatever we can easily express, you know. So love is love, life is life, and you go at it in your way. So. Yeah, and a note here that when it comes to anybody into opened relationships, I mean, it's up to you of how it's up to them of how they want to go at that, you know. But just make sure you find the right people to do so, because you know, it can be problematic too. You know, somebody can get jealous, somebody can, you know, end up sad and depressed and heartbroken, and it's important to not cause that. Yeah, I definitely would not want to be responsible for, you know, anyone else's life and for more things that you already have. So, and I keep coming on here. There's also infatuations, which can be normal to have too, you know, and important to know the difference between infatuations and love. Sometimes it can lead to that, but yeah, eventually you work out the kinks. And sometimes people are outgrown, and things get outgrown, and it could be for the better. It could be for that. But hopefully, you know, not in a, you know, it doesn't end in a very disastrous way, you know. I mean, I mean, sometimes there's nothing you could do about how another person feels, you know, and, you know, eventually we get through things and not just over it, you know. And sometimes you just need, well, not just sometimes, definitely need the right person to do that with.